Westminster's Mayor and Common Council. Council meets here at City Hall on the second and fourth Mondays of every month. Please note that council meetings, although open to the public here at City Hall, are also available and streamed live on the city's YouTube page, as well as the Community Media Center channel and website. Now we'll begin, as we usually do at every meeting, with the pledge of the flag, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Courtesy to everyone, please take a moment to silence your cell phones or any other electronic devices you have that might ring or beep during the meeting. Copies of tonight's agenda and the entire information packet the council will be using are available online on the city's website. First item tonight is the approval of, make a statement for the record about our closed meeting of Monday, February 13th, 2003. In accordance with the general provisions article, section 3-306C2 of the Annotated Code of Maryland, without objection, it is noted that the minutes of tonight's meeting reflect the Common Council met in a closed meeting on Monday, February 13th, 2023 at 8:14 p.m. pursuant to general provisions article section 3-305B1 to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or other officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction, or any other personal matter that affects one or more specific individuals. Motion was approved unanimously by the council on a motion by Mr. Kohl, seconded by Mr. Hoff, and following staff member was in attendance, City Administrator Imhulse. The Common Council took official action during the meeting, and the closed meeting adjourned at 8:30 p.m. Now, approval of the minutes. We have minutes from the Mayor and Common Council meeting of February 13th, 2023, and the closed meeting of the same date. I'll move to approve, Mr. President. Thank you. There's a motion to approve. There's a second by Mr. Kohl and a second by Ms. Gilbert. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, and the ayes have it, and the minutes are approved. We have one item on the consent calendar. May I have a motion to approve? Motion to approve. And a motion by Mr. Hayhoff and a second by Mr. Hoff. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, and the ayes have it, and the consent calendar is approved. Report from the mayor, Dr. Becker.
Okay, thank you, Council President Pecoraro. In light of the short agenda, just one comment this evening. I'd just like to take the opportunity. I know several of us have been working in Annapolis on and off the last several weeks on our indirect water reuse legislation, and I'd just like to take a minute to thank Senator Reedy and Delegate Rose for their assistance and their support with the legislation that is before the Senate and the House in Annapolis. And so I really appreciate the working relationship and the close relationship we've had with our delegation over the last several months, especially with this important piece of legislation that affects our city. And that's going to be all.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Becker. Take report from standing committees. Again, as we always do it, our liaison to the County Arts Council, Mr. Dayhoff.
Thank you, Mr. President. Lots of exciting programming at the Arts Council. The movies are doing especially well, and we have lots of exciting programming coming up in the future. Check the website for more details. Ms. Griffith just continues to have exciting and new ideas, and we're really excited. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Dayhoff. Economic and Community Development, Mr. Hoff.
Mr. President, nothing to report this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoff. On behalf of the Finance Committee, I don't have anything to add to what you already know. The budget work is underway. Thanks to our Finance Director, who is working with all of our department heads to gather their information. Look forward to the Finance Committee meeting shortly to begin taking a look at their work product and being able to report to all of you. Personnel Committee, Ms. Gilbert.
Well, I think we're on a roll here. I don't really have anything to report. What I would is going to be, we're gonna talk about under new business, so I'm gonna let it go till then.
Great, thank you. Public Safety Committee, Mr. Camacho.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple of items. On February 14th, Chief Ledwell and Captain Schuster attended training hosted by the Maryland Police and Correctional Training Commission regarding the new statewide police disciplinary matrix and trial board processes. It's a lot to digest and understand, and they're taking the time to spend time with the folks who are going to be involved in this process so they can understand it if and when it comes to pass that they have to deal with that board, and hopefully that doesn't happen. The other, I'm sorry, one more thing. The annual award ceremony for the police department is going to be April 19th at 9 a.m. Is that correct, Chief?
I believe so.
Yeah, 9 a.m. on April 19th at the Best Western Conference Center, just like it was last year. So I know a lot of you like to attend that, but you may want to put that on your calendar. I'm sure an invitation will be going out soon to all of you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Camacho. And Public Works Committee, part of that as well.
I do, two items. City employees are working at Veterans Memorial at Main Street and Pennsylvania Avenue. Streets Department staff are replacing the old outdated flagpole with two new flagpoles, which will hoist the U.S. flag and the state of Maryland flag. The flagpoles were purchased using grant funds, which is fabulous. Streets Department installed traffic arrows at Winters and John Streets. Prepped mowers and ground equipment for the upcoming mowing season, patched some blacktop along Long Valley Road, and repaired a storm drain on Rich Marsh Street. And the Utilities Department replaced a 2-inch water line on Clover Lane. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Right, thank you. And Recreation and Parks, Mr. Deha.
Celtic Cantor, March 11th, I will defer to the Rec and Parks Director for more information about that. I have been practicing. I've been in a very rigorous training program for the point 0.05. Okay. A rigorous training program. I don't know if a medic will follow us or not, but we'll see. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. And Technology Committee, I think, has not met since we have not since the last meeting. Right. Council comments and discussion. This is the time on the agenda when council members have the opportunity to make comments or observations on items that are not elsewhere on the agenda. And we'll begin with Mr. Camacho.
Yeah, Mr. President, just quickly, I'd like to take a moment. You know, it echoes a little bit of what the mayor talked about relative to our state representatives, but I wanted to take a minute and thank some of you sitting here at the table. The mayor, you, Mr. President, and Councilman Huff, you guys have been working exceptionally hard over the past number of weeks. You've been going down to Annapolis. I know Councilman Huff has been down there at least twice. I know Councilman Gilbert went down there as well for one of the meetings, but the three of you in particular have been really killing it when it comes to both bills we have that we're trying to get through the state, as well as some funding that we're trying to get out of the state for some things. And it's not inconsequential, it's exceptionally consequential for the city. These are huge things that you guys are taking point on. And I just want to say that I'm very grateful that you guys are putting the time and effort into this. And I just wanted to make it, you know, a public statement about how much I know you're putting into this, how much time you're taking entire days to go down to Annapolis and work on these things. And I'm very grateful for that. So I just wanted to say thank you and say that publicly.
Thank you, Mr. Camacho. Mr. Deha.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to echo Mr. Camacho's comments. Mayor Becker and Council President Pecoraro, Council members Dan Huff and Dan Gilbert have just been doing a wonderful job down in Annapolis. I've heard things from some other representatives that are statewide that how well we are represented. One point of testimony is they're very appreciative of having a scientist, Mayor Becker, give testimony. So I'm really excited about all of that work. I will defer my comments about History Day to Councilwoman Gilbert. Speak on History Day. History Day was really exciting. I think that'll be it, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deha. Ms. Gilbert.
Well, there's a running theme here. I too have in my council comments to mention about all the work, not only you, President Pecoraro, but also Councilman Huff and Mayor Becker did, particularly on January 15th, when the hearing in Annapolis for the Senate Bill 407. The presentation, I believe all of us have watched it, was absolutely on point. You guys were well prepared. And I just want to thank you for not only us, but also for Westminster, because all the work you did, seen and unseen, because a lot of people just see what you spoke about there at the hearing, but you guys did a lot of work behind the scenes and are continuing to do that work. So not only it is absolutely priceless work, not only for us, but potentially in the future for the entire state. So thank you. I will also want to mention, I was at the Carroll County History Day and celebrating American History Expo. Councilman Dayhoff was also in attendance, along with Delegate Roche, and Delegate Tomlinson was also in attendance. And it was my first time I was in attendance to that event, unless you want to count being a part of it as a 7th grader also many years ago. Because at that time, it wasn't quite to the elaborate event that it is today, but it did bring back some memories of dressing like President George Washington with cotton balls in my hair for his wig. But
Photographic evidence of that exists somewhere?
I don't know.
Just wondering out loud.
Fully wig stuffed in a box in my mom's attic. I don't know. But the kids, they did a great job. They were full of enthusiasm. I enjoyed talking to them and figuring out why they picked the character they did and what effect that had on them and what they learned. It was just a very good day, and just watching the enthusiasm on the kids' faces and even the folks that attended. It was just a really nice event to go to. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Hobbs.
Mr. President, I don't have much to add. The only thing and thank you very much for the kind comments. The only other person I will mention that has been really instrumental to some of our work down in Annapolis is Ms. Imhulse. From a technical standpoint, some of the back and forth that we've been working on related to the bill, there was a ton of back and forth between MDE and some other people regarding the language, and she stayed on top of that and put a lot of work into getting that all together and getting the amendments all done, and that is a big undertaking. So I really appreciate her hard work on that as well. That's it, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hobbs. Along those lines, I'll first of all say thanks to everyone for their kind words, and I have to admit, in addition to it being important work, it's been kind of fun to spend some time on my little stomping grounds and go down there to do some good for the city. But, I think that this conversation leads into something that, I wanted to say tonight, which is that, there are important issues going on in Annapolis that require our attention. Certainly, the efforts that we've been undertaking, but there are other things as well that are coming up that I think we need to be involved with and aware of. And so, there's only a few months left in this term of this council, but for the duration of this council, which largely coincides with the legislative session, with your permission, I'd like to appoint an ad hoc committee on state affairs, co-chaired by Mr. Hoff and myself, since we are going down there quite a bit. Of course, the mayor is always a member of all of our committees as well, to continue to sort of formalize the work that we're doing on behalf of the city, and to maybe give us another vehicle for being able to report back to all of our colleagues. So without objection, we make that appointment. And that's all I had. say tonight, but I do want to segue back to what I normally would have done at the beginning of the agenda, which is to introduce our guest from McDaniel College. As you all know, when Dr. Jaskin became president of McDaniel College, she promised that she would, whenever possible, send a senior member of her staff to visit us, here at our council meetings, to share news of what's happening up on the Hill, and also to take back a little news of what's happening in the city back to the college leadership. So tonight, please have Dr. Richard Smith, the Associate Provost for Equity and Belonging. Dr. Smith, thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you, and thank you for having me here. It's always an honor to be with you, and I just want to share that McDaniel, we're just so excited to be in collaboration and do this work, make our city, make Westminster even a better place. Tomorrow, we're having our Black History Month convocation, and you're more than welcome to come out. It's at 6 p.m. tomorrow. We're having the first Black female NFL referee will be there speaking to us tomorrow. So you're more than welcome, 6 p.m. So, and again, we will continue to share different things that come up. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Nice to have you here. Of course. Yes.
Is that in Alumni Hall?
It's in the forum.
In the forum, okay.
Very good. All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is ordinances and resolutions. We have one item under that category this evening, adoption of ordinance number 2023-01, budget amendment number 1 for fiscal year 23. And I will turn to our Director of Finance, Ms. Rodgers, in just a moment. But first, I just want to note that we all saw the original ordinance as drafted, but staff continue to work on that based on some of the feedback they got at our last council meeting. And so we have a new version. So what I would like to do is entertain a motion to amend, substitute by amendment for this new ordinance. And so we'll have this before. So we have a motion.
Mr. President, I'll make that motion to substitute by amendment.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hoffman. And a second?
Second.
And second by Ms. Gilbert. Thank you. So, Ms. Rodgers.
Thank you, Mr. President. The staff introduced ordinance number 2023-01 to the Mayor and Common Council on February 13th of 2023 to amend the fiscal year 23 budget. At the meeting on February 13th, 2023, Council asked staff to insert a third column to ordinance number 2023-01, summarizing the delta between the adopted budget and ordinance number 2023-01. That document is attached. Staff recommends that the Mayor and Common Council approve the amended budget appropriations as detailed in amended ordinance number 2023-01.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Rodgers. And thank you for the work in adding the additional column and information that the council was looking for. I think that as we discussed, I think it makes what we're doing a little clearer, not just to ourselves, but also to anybody else who might want to look at this, and certainly to the staff going forward. So I think that's very helpful. Anybody have any comments or questions for Ms. Rodgers?
Mr. President.
Mr. Dinhoff.
So is this, or does it go back, is it first reader?
No, we already did that.
That's what I thought.
We did that, but we're legislators.
Can we approve?
Yeah, we're legislators, so we are legislating.
Okay, cool.
Any other questions?
I call the vote.
All right, if no further questions, move on to the vote. All those in favor of adopting the amendment in form of a substitute, because we have to do this in 2 stages. The amendment in form of substitute, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have, and the ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. Now the vote turns to the ordinance itself. All those in favor of adopting the ordinance as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have, and the ayes have it. And the ordinance is adopted and the budget is amended. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Move on now to unfinished business. There's no unfinished business of which I'm aware. Does anybody have any unfinished business? Hearing none, move on to the next item, which is new business. We have 2 items on the new business. The first is approval of a Juneteenth holiday be added to the holiday schedule for the city of Westminster. After that, we'll turn to our HR director, Ms. McCullough. Ms. McCullough.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Juneteenth holiday was first recognized as a federal holiday in 2021. Carroll County government and the other 7 municipalities in Carroll County were closed in observance of the Juneteenth holiday in 2022. At their meeting on September 28th, 2022, the Personnel Committee discussed and gave the consensus to present to the Common Council for their consideration and approval to add Juneteenth as a holiday for the city of Westminster.
Thank you, Ms. McCullough. Let's get a motion on the floor here. We have a motion to approve the Juneteenth holiday being added to the schedule.
I'll make a motion to approve adding.
And I'll second it.
There's a motion by Ms. Gilbert and a second by Mr. Dayhoff. I think went first. Is there any discussion or any questions?
Mr. President,
Ms. Gilbert?
as chair of the Personnel Committee, I just wanted to add that part of our thinking in the Personnel Committee, President Biden on June 17th did sign a bill establishing Juneteenth. That particular day commemorating the emancipation of enslaved African Americans in the United States is a federal holiday. So it is a federal holiday, and just as Ms. McCullough said, all current state employees and all other Carroll County government employees receive this day off. So we felt, the Personnel Committee felt that we should adopt June 17th as an additional holiday for our city employees. So I'm hoping that everybody is in agreement.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Yard? Hearing none, move on to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, ayes have it. And there we go, another day off for city employees. Celebration of Juneteenth. That's great. Next item is approval of the sole source contract with Kohl Brothers to rebuild high service pump number 1. And in the city administrator's absence, I'll turn to Mr. Depot and see if he's going to talk to somebody else.
I will be taking service. Thank you very much. The Cranberry Water Treatment Plant utilizes 4 high service pumps or HSPs to pump potable water from the clear well at the plant to the distribution system. HSP 1 has failed due to bearing wear and will need to be rebuilt. We have used Kohl Brothers Inc. in the past for these and other pump repairs and would like to have them rebuild HSP 1. They will completely refurbish all reusable pieces and use new Peerless pump parts to complete the job. We have received service of Peerless pumps in the past for HSP 2, 3, and 4, and we do want to continue working with Peerless pumps. There's one other Peerless representative in the area, but they will sub the work to Kohl Brothers with a markup. Sole source authorization for the use of Kohl Brothers Inc. is desired to maintain consistency with other pumps, which have been rebuilt with Peerless parts over the years. Kohl Brothers has provided us with a quote for $39,845 to rebuild HSP 1. Staff has reviewed the quotes for labor and equipment items and finds both appropriate to meet the needs of maintaining the ability to provide potable water to the customers of the Cranberry water system. Funding for the replacement equipment was not planned for the fiscal year 23 budget and will require a budget amendment using water fund reserves. And staff is recommending that the Common Council approve a sole source contract with Kohl Brothers in the amount of $39,845. And that completes my report.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Depot. Let's get a motion and then we can have some conversation about this if necessary. We have a motion to approve the sole source contract.
I'll make a motion to approve the sole source contract.
We've got a motion by Ms. Gilbert. Is there a second? A second by Mr. Kavachi. Thank you. I just have a question. And Mr. Depot, you may not know, we don't have anybody from Public Works here tonight. So you may not be able to tell. So this really isn't necessary to know, to be able to vote on the site tonight, but I'm just curious. Other work's been done on the other pumps, apparently. Just wondering, are the pumps all the same age? Is there a schedule for how long these pumps last? And what are we gonna have to replace them? We're going to rebuild one, or we have to at some point replace them entirely. Those are things maybe the Public Works Committee can take a look at when Mr. Kavachi, in the committee have the next meeting, but those things just, just good practice.
Unfortunately, I do not have that information. I will pass that on and prepare for the Works Committee.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Miller?
Mr. President.
Mr. Kavachi.
Ms. Ms. Rodgers, you probably can answer this best. I just want to make sure all of the funding for this is coming out of the enterprise fund for water, correct? None of this is coming out of general fund. Right. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Gilbert.
I just had one question because I noticed in our packet at the bottom of the Kohl Brothers Incorporated quote, I guess, it said we have not included any motor repairs. How important is that not included any motor repairs into the quote? And I don't, Mr. Depot, I'm sure you're not going to be able to
And I apologize.
answer that question either, but I did note it, and I was kind of wondering, you know.
Mr. President, I could probably answer that. So the pump is going to have two components. You got the pump, which is the actual impellers that sit inside of the housing, bearings. That's what has failed. The motor is what drives that pump. They're two separate pieces that are attached by a shaft. They don't include money to repair the pump because there's no indication there's anything wrong. I'm sorry, the motor, because there's no indication there's anything wrong with the motor, just the pump. Now, when they repair the pump, they could find out that the motor isn't working properly because they can't really run the motor without the pump functioning.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when a pump fails, it can actually damage the bearings inside the motor housing. But they won't know that really until they get it apart and work on it. So that's why it's not in there. And I'm sure these motors aren't inexpensive to fix, but it would make sense to me they would not have it in there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy. Anyone else? All right, hearing no further discussion, move on to a vote. All those in favor of approval of the sole source contract with Kohl Brothers, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it. The ayes have it. And the contract is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Departmental reports. Mr. Depot.
Thank you. I'd like to start off with Council Member Imhulse. If he has any updates for the fire department?
No, we're continuing to work on the county slowly but surely taking on a lot of the responsibilities of the fire service in Carroll County. It's a work in progress. I guess stay tuned. But that'll be my report for the fire department. Thank you.
When is that expected to happen?
It's slow. It's going to be going on for quite some time. But there are
months, years, it's gonna happen within
years.
Years. Are they hiring firefighters?
They're starting to hire some folks. As a matter of fact, I think there's a date coming up, if I'm not mistaken, March 2nd. Some of the lieutenants have been hired and will be assuming their responsibilities, but they're going station by station. It's going to be quite a long process.
And is it the expectation that the paid fire service is gonna take over the volunteer stations and operate out of them?
That's subject to a lot of controversy and a lot of discussion. Because what we really want to have is a combination of volunteer career service in Carroll County. Other counties have done it well, other counties have not done it well. We're going to hope that we do it well, because the more functionality that's assumed by volunteers, that's the less that the career staff will have to assume. The fire service is going to be extraordinarily expensive, and we'll have to see how that all works out. The challenge is that volunteering with the fire service these days, the amount of time training, the amount of time away from your family, and not everybody works on Main Street these days.
Time to change.
The time
had a huge impact.
The times have changed significantly. But there's a lot of discussion, a lot of back and forth as to how it's going to all come together, and we want to hope for the best.
Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Chico, thank you.
That's good. Thank you. Let's move on to Mr. Rodgers and Finance Department.
Thank you, Mr. Depot. I do not have a report tonight.
Next, let's move to Police Chief Ledwell, the Police Department.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just have two things to add. One is that our detectives solved a residential burglary on Chase Street using DNA evidence, and were able to obtain an arrest warrant for the suspect. The second is that nationwide they're implementing the 988 mental health crisis emergency number. So the state of Maryland has had 211 option one in place locally, and they're going to transition to 988 as is occurring nationally. And as part of that, they awarded a contract to the Sante Group, who does our mobile crisis response. And so they interviewed me when they were trying to figure out how they're going to integrate the call center with emergency dispatch and ultimately emergency response if needed. And then they've asked me to sit in on their work group for that implementation process. So that's all I have. Is there any questions?
Questions?
Mr. President. Yes, but you have a question. How you doing on the generator, the backup generator?
So Department of Public Works is rebidding that.
Oh, okay.
With the propane option, I believe.
Is it the propane?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay, that's important. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Let's move on to the Housing Department and Eric Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Depot. Good evening. I wanted to take this opportunity to provide you with an update of our recent inspection of Bishop Garth Apartments. This past Thursday, we re-inspected the 15 units, and we determined that 114 of the 178 identified maintenance deficiency had been completed. There is one unit that we had had identified some issues. That unit is now vacant, and everything that we identified will be taken care of as they do the unit, prepping it for a new occupant. New appliances were installed in 3 apartments. New bathtubs were, as a result of our inspection, 3 new appliances in 3 units, new bathtubs in 2 units. One unit is getting new flooring. New cabinets will be installed in 3 apartments. The cabinets have been ordered, but they're just waiting on them to come in. And then once they come in, then they'll be installed. And then 1 apartment is get cabinets resurfaced. So progress is made. They made a lot of progress. They've been very cooperative in trying to get things turned around, and we've expressed our appreciation in doing so. During the inspection, we identified some other issues, but they were relatively minor. I won't say minor, but they were issues that we didn't identify during our first inspection. So they will be added to the list for them to do, and we'll give them a reasonable period of time in which to take care of those as well. So I just wanted to provide the mayor and council with that update. And I have nothing else to report, Mr. Depot.
Any questions, Mr. Brown?
I just want to say, Mr. Brown, thank you for staying on top of this. I think it goes beyond just this one location. I think it's important, relatively early in your tenure, here are the first major housing issues that we've had. I think it's important that the other, similarly situated properties understand that the city is going to be moving aggressively on these things and taking the action it needs to take. So thank you for doing what you've done.
Thank you, Officer.
Thank you, Mr. President. How are we doing on the Wance building?
The building was initially condemned because of the sprinkler had burst. Mm-hmm. The people who lived in the building have returned. During the period in which they were out of the building, the landlord paid to have them accommodated at other places. And most of them, I believe, there was one person, I'm not sure whether he moved back in. As of Friday, we couldn't get in touch with him. So I believe he has moved back in, and we'll be checking on him. There is one vendor, I believe, that is still, I think I was by there the other day, Friday I went by there, it looks like she was still closed. The Victoria's place was still closed, so we'll do some follow-up on that.
Yeah, if you could follow up on that.
Mr.
President. There's a lot of discussion in town about all the work that you're doing, and I really, really appreciate it. And I really appreciated that you gave the police officers that were so helpful accommodation for that, because they really stepped up to the plate. So a lot of people are really noticing how much Westminster's stepping up to the plate and addressing a number of these issues. And this is really, really good stuff. So I can't thank you enough for all your work. That'll be all, Mr. President. Mr. Vigo.
Thank you. Just real quick, the ranch property, we do have building permits under review. We're working with them to relocate some of the dumpsters behind Lost Lion, possibly into city's parking area back there, so they can get a larger construction dumpster on site that's not doing work. So we are working with them to try to plan out how they're going to get some of that work done.
And a follow up on that, we've had some complaints about accessibility, and we're going to stay on top of that, I hope. Okay, while we're dealing with dumpsters and while we're dealing with contractors and stuff like that, because there are some accessibility issues back there. We want to make sure that they're maintained.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Let's move over to the other side of the room and Ray McCullough with Human Resources.
Good evening. The Human Resources Department, we continue to recruit for positions. We are actively interviewing for several of our positions, and we recently had some new postings posted. So please go to the city's website to look at the new postings that we have available and where you can go there and apply. The city has great benefits, it's a great place to work. And please look at the city's website and apply. Thank you. That completes my report.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Okay. Park, Recreation and Parks, Abby Gruber.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I would just like to take this opportunity to invite everyone to join us for our very first 2023 special event on Main Street. Our Celtic, Cantor, and Irish Festival is taking place on March 11th. If you're not a runner, there's plenty for you to do. Lots of children's activities, vendors, delicious food. We do have 3-foot races. 9 a.m. is the 5K, 10 a.m. is the children's 1-mile leprechaun chase, and 11 a.m. of course is our 0.5K, which Councilman Dayhoff told us he was training in earnest for. So we certainly would like to see everyone out for this remarkable event, and I promise you won't be disappointed. That completes my report unless there are questions.
Do you think the children will be faster than us?
Maybe just a wee bit.
Faster than certain ones. Go faster than Mr. Grayhoff. Explain this later.
Thank you. Last report, the Community Plan Development. On February the 16th, the Planning and Zoning Commission conditionally approved the site development plan for West Pharma at 1221 Tech Court for a 32,000 square foot addition to the existing 64,000 square foot building. On March 1st, the Historic District Commission is scheduled to provide a cursory review and tax credit information for a proposed 2-story, 2,177 square foot addition to the rear of the existing single-family dwelling at 30 Webster Street, and a proposed demolition and facade renovation concept plans for 285, 287 East Green Street. This is that property that's located north of Maggie's and north of the intersection of Washington Road and East Green Street. We have talked to the attorney putting together the petition for Ellsworth Cemetery as to what is the appropriate zoning district to come into the city. So I think we finalized those discussions. So we're just waiting for the petition to be submitted. And that completes my report. And if you have any questions.
Mr. President,
Mr. Kalachi.
what's the status of the Vince's Seafood property, as far as you know?
The site plan that was approved is now void. because it's been so long since it was originally approved. My understanding is it has been purchased and they are looking at coming back in with that site development plan. So we did have a pre-submittal meeting. We just haven't received anything official from that person, from the new property owner.
Is the expectation, or is there an expectation that the current building will be demolished, or will it be?
Yes, the original site plan proposed to demolish the existing building and build a new two-story building. I think they're following suit. I think the first floor was retail, commercial, second floor, a few apartments.
Good. I think it's critical that, I mean, this is really a prominent piece of property in the city. I think it's critical that we are keenly on top of ensuring that our architectural standards are applied. I mean, you know, we can't afford a monstrosity at that site. I mean, we've really got to be on top of that.
So, absolutely. And we have been, any new development in the historic district, we have started a new policy that we go to the Historic District Commission initially, so we can talk about the architecture and tax credits and facade improvement programs. Try to, in the front end of it, try to get a good understanding of what we are looking for downtown Westminster.
Following on top of that, I agree with everything Council President Pecoraro said. However, it is quite the monstrosity right now, sitting right in the middle of one of the most prominent parts of the community. So I hope we are going to do everything we can to help them expedite the process to get that in a much higher, better use than the junky, crappy looking place that it is right now. So.
And I am hoping it goes rather quickly. We did have that site plan approval. It did go through stormwater management review. The stormwater management requirements are potentially changing. So my hope is they do submit sooner than later. But I would hope it would go rather quickly.
Mr. President, I just want to add, as being the member that serves on planning and zoning, I will compliment staff that I think they work very hard on trying to make sure that the architecture of new development or redevelopment look attractive. And they really work hard with developers, and when the Planning and Zoning Commission has to push a little bit, I think we have pushed to make sure that we get a nice, attractive, look in town. And when we're doing redevelopment projects, so I just want to note that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that completes departmental reports.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Depot. The final item on our agenda is citizen comments. This is the opportunity for the public to address the council on issues that pertain to tonight's agenda or any other city issues. For citizens not attending the meeting, the public meeting here at City Hall, we invite people to send us their comments or concerns via email at comments@westminstermd.gov. All comments received will be shared with the mayor and council. Commenters should please include their address and phone number with their comments. And at this time, we'll invite comments from anybody else who happens to be present with us in person. Would anybody like to be heard?
You're in, Lindy.
You're in.
You're all doing a great job.
Thank you. Thank you. Make sure that gets in the record.
I don't know, if there's nothing else, that concludes our agenda and the meeting. Without objection, we're adjourned.